You're listening to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. We appreciate you tuning in to one of our pre-recorded episodes.
And I don't see that as knowledge. I think knowledge and learning is something that happens every single moment of the day in different areas, in different parts of your life. You could be outside in the garden learning something. You could be cooking something, learning something. You could be reading, writing poetry, writing an essay. That is you learning something. And at the end of the day, what is the point of Google and Alexa? Right. You know, Google was made to help us know everything. I really think that what we need to start doing as education ministers and departments of education is thinking about, okay, so our children in 20 years time, what kind of jobs will they have, and what do we need to prepare them to have, and then work backwards from there and think about the skill set. And I think that's what is needed now. And we've seen jobs going under, people who are earning high income during COVID having to lose their work because there is no work. And whereas people who are on the front line, so the truck drivers, delivery drivers, they're still employed. And it's just making me think, wow, we can't just prepare our young people for one type of work. It's got to be for a variety. And so they are completely filling their skill set because it works.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I found really interesting is a lot of times folks, I know here in the United States, are so concerned about getting the education in order to get a job. And then the job is a job that they may stay in for 20, 30, 40 years, things of that nature. Whereas, like I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about my dad, he went through that kind of career where he was going through a variety of fields, whether it was starting out, like I mentioned earlier, in the Army, and then going into activism work. And then he and my mom started in the radio station, and then him doing the education on the higher level, and now being an artist. But I think that that's more of the norm, even in the world society, than we actually think it is. And unfortunately, I think sometimes in the education system, we get people so geared toward the testing model. And I don't know what the testing model is like in the UK, because I know here there's so much concentrated on the end of the year test and how that's going to work. And I imagine that y'all probably have a similar kind of model where the end of the year tests are going on different grade levels.
Yeah, no, we have the same system, and it's fascinating now because it's actually now it's just collapsed because of COVID. So right. Students can't do their end of year exams from every level again, and it's people who are trying to go to university, they can't, their work's not graded, or they've not sat accept that assessment. Sorry, 1 second, Mark. Sophia, thank you. The other interesting thing is that these students have had no closure. They've had, they've been working towards their exams their whole lives, and they've got nothing from it. They've got nothing to experience. So it's been quite an interesting anticlimax for them, and I worry quite a lot. But on the other hand, what has been really interesting is that in the UK, teachers have been given the first time the trust to submit what they think their students' grades are to the Department of Education. And I think that's quite incredible, actually. I think bravo, really. It's phenomenal. And if only we can get to that level whereby teachers' opinions on assessment is trusted. In many other professions, opinions are, trusted, but somehow in ours, they're not. So that would be quite interesting to see if we can learn from this next year.
Yeah, because one of the things that I think that people are finding really interesting is that a lot of people, the parents, are having to be teachers too now. So I think that they're gaining new respect for teachers, because a lot of times we all have had our favorite teacher, whether it was somebody in college, high school, grade school, or whatever. But I think that they're having to go back to think about what teachers meant to them, and especially when they're having to be teachers themselves. Because like you mentioned, you were having this assignment where you were having them use plastic and other items around the house. So I'm sure that they had to get with the parents in order to find out what these plastic items might be and how to create this artwork that they would then display to you on a platform like Zoom or on Google Hangout or whatever platforms you're using.
No, it's to be honest, I'm still kind of, I don't know, I teach seniors, so I teach 11 to 18-year-olds, and I have two daughters who are younger, so they're in the primary schools, and I just don't know where they get the patience from. So I take my hat off to teachers too. But it has been quite exciting. It has been quite different. Parents, we've got to adapt because I'm working as well as homeschooling my kids. That's been a challenge, an interesting challenge, but a challenge. And on the other hand, it's quite interesting for me to kind of, we're all in the same boat. You'll see a child walking behind me, my kids, and that's normal now in professional meetings.
Right.
So I think there's been a switch, a mindset, and acceptance, a tolerance, and I think that's been quite unique about what's happened in COVID.
Yep. You mentioned tell us a little bit about the experiment that you had with the kids and plastic, and just some of some of the things that they created were, because I'm really curious, because like I said, I'm looking around my apartment now and I see a couple of plastic items that I could probably make art out of it if I had thought about it.
Well, right. First of all, Mark, little steps. Yes, little steps. That don't start kind of destroying your flat. So I always think, what my first thing at the moment of teaching through the COVID is, what will they have at home? And the one thing that I do a lot in my house is we recycle. And what I always do is I have a bag that I just put all my recycling bits in. Right. And it just came it came to my attention that actually they're great materials. They're fantastic materials. They're colourful. They've got different surfaces. So I've just kept. And every parent can do this, just keep a bag of all plastics and maybe egg boxes and just different surfaces, papers, just keep them somewhere safe or into the side. And then what I then did is I just pulled out lots of different plastic bags and I just cut them into strips, so bags or plastic packaging of different colours. And I placed some greaseproof paper, so the non-stick baking sheet paper, and then I laid my design on top. Then I placed another layer of baking proof paper, and then with a cool iron, I just ironed my piece of work. And then what happens with the plastic, when it's melted, it just kind of shrivels and sticks together. And then I had a piece of work come up. If you give me 2 seconds, I will show you. Would you like to see?
I would like to see.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on, I'll just go and grab it. Hang on a second. Hang on.
All right, sure.
Okay.
All right.
So you never know what's going to happen when you melt plastic. That's the beauty. So it's it's just excitement and experimentation. So the first sheet is this one here. I don't know if you can see it with the light.
Oh yeah,
that's quite nice.
Can.
So I've got plastic. So it's like a landscape. So you can see
it almost looks like a wave in the background, kind of like a seascape or something like that.
So in I'm sure in all countries, but the fruits and vegetables that are held together by a netted kind of mesh object. Well, that's that lovely texture you get there. So that's one. And then I just did this is a random, let me throw everything on and see what happens. But from here, you kind of get an abstract face. So you've got like the eyes, the line of eyes and nose, mouth. And so I thought that was quite lovely, just kind of trying to investigate or see what you can find from art.
Yeah, and you can do some great work with that.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Just another kind of random strip one. But it's great. It's a nice surface, it's a good surface. It's very robust, so you can work on it, you can sew it, you can stitch it. So I think that is hours of fun in any household.
That looks like a whole lot of fun, and a lot of people could find ways to do that. And you said you've actually put this on your YouTube page.
Yeah, I've got a YouTube video. I've just started, so I'm very new to this YouTube world. I'm very apprehensive, very slightly intimidated by it. But these are videos that I did for my students, so hopefully the world can see, and if they find them useful, brilliant.
What's the name of the YouTube channel?
That's a very good question. I think it's called Andria's Art Room.
Andria's Art Room.
And apparently I meant to say like and subscribe. That's what my 8-year-old says to me. Mummy, say like and subscribe.
That's right. You gotta let folks know about it so they can like and subscribe and build up an audience. Maybe you've got like your students now, and maybe you got like 20 or 30 members. Next thing you know, you might have a couple of hundred.
Oh,
That would be a wonderful thing. How did you actually get involved in teaching? I know some people think that they are born teachers, that they come out almost out of the womb ready to teach. Some other people, they have a life experience that makes them want to be a teacher. What about you that made you decide to go into the teaching field?
So I'm one of the womb ones. That's me. So even in my earliest kind of dreams and memories I've had are when I was either a teacher. So when I was 4 years old, I was teaching my nieces how to read and write, and my teddy bears. I'd be playing teachers. I think that was one of my games. I think my parents were really embarrassed once. I think when I was 8 years old, they came back from school and they said that I was so bossy because apparently I was telling the teachers how to do their job. So again, that was quite, that does not surprise. That doesn't surprise me that I'm like that. No, I just it's my absolute natural environment. I love it. I love being, you walk into any school across the world and the experience is the same. The environment is very familiar, and you can, you know it, you can feel it. The sounds, the displays, the smells, the noise. It's very familiar wherever you are, and I think that's why I love my job.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have a deep passion for it. I mean, you were honored by it, and they brought you all the way across the waters to get honored about it. How did that come about, and what did you think when you first learned about that honor?
Oh my God. So, it's just been extraordinary. So I was nominated for an award which I had no idea existed. I found out that when I got into the top 50, that the amount of people who applied was about 35,000 applications from 170 countries throughout the world. So it was quite a big deal. And I think it's luckily I didn't know that originally, because otherwise I would not have supported the nomination. But then I was nominated, and then to cut a very long story short, I was invited to apply, so I applied, and after about 3 months process, I found out I was in the top 10 amongst incredible practitioners from all over the world, from different walks of life and experiences, who taught different subjects, and an art teacher from Northwest London won, which is just mind-blowingly brilliant. But I'm still a little bit in shock and saying, did that actually happen? But yeah, it's been wonderful.
What and you brought it up earlier, and I was just curious if you could elaborate on a little bit, but why do you think people don't have necessarily as much respect for, say, the art teacher as they do the math teacher? Because I do think that sometimes people don't give the creative teachers as much respect as they should, even though we know that the arts is part of creative thinking, and we need to have more creative thinking people in the world. I don't know about y'all's leader, because I don't know as much as I should know about world leaders, but I know our leader doesn't do enough creative thinking, or when he does it, it comes up with some very unbrilliant ideas.
He is indeed quite a unique man. Do you know what, Mark? I do not know what the answer is to that, because it shocks me. Right, so from the day a child is born, and when they're in kindergarten, you see them. We learn about their social skills, about their cognitive ability through their drawing with crayon, or speaking, or playing, or clapping, or singing. We learn this through doing those art lessons, or art tips, or art practice with the students. We're learning more about their human nature. So why we are trying to not invest in these subjects throughout our whole life, I do not know. And the most funny thing is, Mark, is that I've met many people over the years, especially now since I've won the award. And I've met many people, colleagues have come to me to say, I was a banker, but then 5 years ago I quit, and I now, I'm practicing art in my home. What do you think? Or I used to be a doctor, but it's just too stressful, so now I'm a musician. I gave it up to play my music. So I've seen colleagues who have given up that type of work to follow the arts. I've not seen the reverse. Right. I've not seen an artist who's given up being an artist to be a scientist, or a doctor, or mathematician, or an accountant. I've not seen that. there may be people who are doing that, but I've not experienced that. Yeah, so I don't know if I've asked you a question, but I think it's